party just because you're in the mood to have a party. Or you could have a party to mark a special occasion. Or sometimes at our house, we like to have a party with a kind of tasty inspiration to it. Like in the fall when we roast a pig in the pit in the backyard, or sometimes when we invite people over to make tamales with us. You know, that tasty inspiration becomes a major focus of a lot of the fun, like tonight. I've got two inspirations. One of them will be handcrafted by me, and the other will be handcrafted by some artisans in Mexico. I'm talking tequila. No, not those shots and licking the salt off the back of your hand. No, I'm talking about that wonderful, smooth, ultra premium tequila, the kind that's on a par with the world's best brandies. So I invited some folks over, and my idea was to do a little tequila tasting with them, because I think it's going to open their eyes, well, and their palates too, to the wonders of super premium tequila. Now, what do I mean by super premium tequila? Well, to start with, it's the stuff that's made with 100% agave. You know, that giant succulent that looks like a spiky cactus, but it's actually a member of the lily family. Well, now, true tequila comes only from that plant and only from this area around the state of Jalisco in western Mexico, especially from the epicenter, the town of Tequila. Sort of like true champagne coming only from the Champagne region of France. And when those plants get mature, now that takes 10 to 12 years. The jimadores, the agave harvesters, they trim all those spiny leaves away and leave only the heart, what they call the piña. And then those hearts go into these great big ovens where they get slow roasted for more than 2 days to release all their juices. And then those roasted agave hearts get crushed. They used to use these giant stone wheels to do it. And the juice gets mixed with water and then fermented for a couple of weeks. And from there, that liquid gets distilled. And what comes out is blanco or silver tequila. But it could also get aged in oak barrels to mellow out the flavor. That's what they would call tequila reposado if it's aged for 2 to 12 months. Or it could become tequila añejo when it's aged for a lot longer than that, which is what happens to a lot of this super premium stuff. That sweet, smoky, slightly woodsy aroma that you get out of a brandy that's been aged in oak barrels, well, that's what you'll get in these aged tequilas. I've got 2 of them here, beautiful bottles that they're doing them in. We've got a reposado and an añejo. But if it's bright flavors that you want, well, it's the blanco tequila that'll be your ticket.
Hey!
Hi!
What's for dinner?
Ah, that's my second tasty inspiration. I was thinking sort of warm and comforting and rich, pork, hominy.
Pozole?
You got it.
Yes.
Okay, so you want to help me cook it?
Sure, why not?
Okay, so we're gonna start with some tostadas. We'll put 3 different toppings out and let people help themselves, keep everything totally casual. And then we'll ladle big bowlfuls of pozole, put out all the condiments, and end with chocolate pecan pie bars.
Ooh, can we make the chocolate pecan pie bars first?
We'll get to it, but we gotta get that pozole going first. You know, in Mexico, pozole is the party dish. You might think of it sort of like we might think of a big pot of chili. You know, it's pretty easy to make. It's super easy to serve. It's kind of cheap and it lasts all day long, so you can just serve it whenever the guests arrive. You know, whether you're in a little village in a home kitchen or whether they've carried a big pot into the yard and built a little fire up underneath it to keep that pozole simmering, when you find a pot of pozole, you know you're in for a great fiesta. I can never forget this time that I was staying with some friends in the highlands in Guerrero, and it was my birthday, and we stayed up all night long tending this huge pot of pozole and invited the whole village over, starting early in the morning with the singing of the mañanitas and the whole shebang. ladling out big portions of this beautiful pozole. So aromatic, so delicious. And that's what we're in store for today. You know, I fired up the turkey fryer, which might surprise you, as my vessel here for cooking the pozole outside. And I've filled it about half full of water here, and I'm gonna add the corn, the right corn for making pozole. I know a lot of people would say just open some cans of hominy, drain them, and then add them to the pot. But when I make pozole, it's always for a great occasion. So I go the whole 9 yards. I start with this nixtamal that I get down at the tortilla factory. Now this is the dried corn that's been cooked with the cal or calcium hydroxide, the mineral lime, briefly and then washed off. It turns yellow and then you wash off all that yellow. And I'm gonna add all of this to the water that's coming to a simmer over a high flame here on the turkey fryer. Now if you don't live near a tortilla factory, you have other choices that don't mean going straight to the canned hominy. One of the things you could do if you've got a Mexican grocery anywhere near is look in their frozen department and see if you can find what they will call maíz para pozole, which is essentially the same stuff that I just put in there, but it'll be in packages in the frozen food. Or, you know, mail order. You can buy, this is the blue corn, but you can find it in white and yellow as well. You can find the dried corn for pozole, which is essentially the stuff that I started with here, that's been dried off and then packed into plastic bags, and they'll sell it mail order, or you might even find it in your local grocery store. Now, while this is coming to a boil here, I'm going to add to it a bunch of garlic. These are a couple heads of garlic. We're making a lot of pozole. Oh, hi, how are you doing? Well, I just got the preparations for the pozole started here. So the corn's gonna go on there and it's going to simmer until it's tender. We'll get a little of that garlic flavor. We're just doing it straight in water because I haven't added the meat to it yet at all. But then when the guests arrive and everything is all ready, when the meat's been cooked in it, then we're gonna set out all the toppings here and serve great big old bowlfuls of the pozole, and they can put the cabbage on there, they can squeeze lime in it, onions, cilantro, some radishes, and they can take that fabulous Mexican oregano, that dried oregano, and just rub it between their palms for the ever important little bit of dried oregano on the top of it.
So what's the difference between regular oregano and Mexican oregano?
Well, I'm glad you asked. Now, this is the classic Mexican oregano. See the beautiful little white flowers there and these leaves that are sort of large and spaced wide apart? Well, why don't you grab one of those leaves and crush it between your fingers so you can smell it? Yeah, like that. And I'm gonna give you also a sprig of Mediterranean oregano. See how different those leaves are there? You can crush one of those and smell that. Think about the flavors. Think about the aromas. Just think about how different they are. And I'm going to ask you in a second what the flavor differences or smell differences might be. Now, this is our bed of herbs at the back of our garden. It's an area that's very sunny, which is what all of these herbs really want. In fact, we mixed some sand into the soil here so that we could get it really, really well drained, put a little gravel mulch on the top. And during the growing season, you know, we don't give it much water and we don't give it much fertilizer either. And things just do incredibly well, especially things like the dry climate Mexican oregano or the Mediterranean oregano. But we've got some thyme in here. We've got some rosemary, some lavender, and different kinds of mint in the back there. Okay, the exam. So tell me what you think. How would you describe that flavor of the Mexican oregano?
It's definitely got like a darker sort of licoricey smell flavor. And then the Mediterranean one is lighter, greener. It has kind of a minty, lemony.
Very cool. And you know, the really cool thing about these oreganos is that those flavors really intensify when they're dried. A lot of other herbs, when you dry them, they lose their flavors, but these really intensify. So you could grow your own oregano and then harvest it when the season ends, dry it out and store it until the next season. I think you've passed Oregano 101. Okay, the corn should be ready now. It's cooked for a couple of hours. You want some? It's just
too hot for me.
perfectly tender. Okay, now this is the moment we've been waiting for.
Chocolate pecan pie bars?
No, pozole phase 2. This is when we put the pork in.
Oh, the moment of pork.
Oh, grab those shanks over there. I'm gonna put the pig's feet into the pot.
It's too early for pig's feet.
How about a big old chunk of pork shoulder roast going in there? Now you can see why I chose this turkey fryer to cook this in, because it's the great big pot, the biggest pot that we have. Now we're gonna let that simmer for 2-3 more hours until all of that pork is tender. We gotta add to it some onion. Why don't you dump that in there? And 1/4 cup of salt. And just let the stuff simmer away.
Now?
Now what?
Now is it time for chocolate pecan pie bars?
No time like the present.
Exactly, especially when there's chocolate involved. Now that's chocolate.
Okay, we gotta get the crust started for the chocolate pecan pie bars. If you could break those pretzels up into the food processor there. I'm gonna toast some pecans, spread them out onto a sheet pan here and put them into the oven, turn it on to about 325 degrees, and we'll let those toast. How you coming there? Almost got them all in there. So what we're gonna do here is to pulse this until you get them pulverized. And then we'll add some sugar, melt some butter and pour that in. Let it all come together in the food processor, and then divide it up between 2 8x8 pans and press it in to form the bottom crust. Okay, so I'm gonna take the toasted pecans out of the oven. You grab that chocolate over there, and then I'm just gonna put these toasted pecans onto the countertop there. Excuse me. So there's a knife. You can chop those pecans while I chop the chocolate.
That's not fair.
Okay, well, you chop the chocolate then. I'll chop the pecans. Now let's combine all of that into a bowl here. Scoop all your Mexican chocolate in there. The regular chocolate. Why don't those pecans smell good? All toasty here. Now, 3 tablespoons of flour is going to go in on that, and just stick your hands in there and just toss it all around. Okay. Now, that's great. If you could put the little beater on there, I'm going to go start measuring out all of the ingredients that go in. Eggs, brown sugar, corn syrup, vanilla, and the rest of the melted butter. Okay, you divide the chocolate and pecans between the 2 crusts there, and I'll pour the topping over that. What isn't that little? Okay, just an even layer of it over there. Look at how gorgeous that is. All those big pieces will bake into those bars. Okay, now I'm gonna pull out the oven rack here and put those in there. They're ready to bake.
So how long till they're ready?
Oh, well, 45 minutes I gotta bake, and then probably 45 minutes to cool them. But then we gotta refrigerate them so that we can cut beautiful little squares out of them. So
I don't think I can wait that long.
I got an idea for you. Okay, what about this? Will this hit the spot?
I think it'll suffice.
I think I'm gonna have some too. There's this little stand I love to visit in Guadalajara. You get these super fresh tostadas with all these great toppings. Free side of entertainment with every order. Well, that's just the kind of feeling that I want to create with our Make Your Own Tostada buffet. Okay, 3 salady toppings for little tostadas, little crispy fried tortillas. I've got one that's going to be based on cooked shrimp, one on some leftover pot roast and potatoes, and the third one on some pickled pig's feet. And when it comes to the tostadas, well, you could crisp fry your own, but I'll tell you, in my Mexican grocery, they sell such good quality ones that I just buy them there. In fact, these aren't even fried at all. They're just crisp, making them not only really delicious, great texture, but also, I guess, better for you. Okay, so...
What can I do to help?
Oh, hi. Yes, if you don't mind, taking this pot roast and shredding it up into little tiny pieces there. While I get all of the ingredients prepped, I'm going to need to chop up tomato and an onion, squeeze some limes and chop some green chilies, and then of course chop up some cilantro. So time to get busy. Now the chopped cilantro goes in over the tomatoes, onions, and shrimp, and I'm going to make a little avocado dressing here in the food processor, starting with the chopped serrano chilies, the lime juice, and then scooping the 2 halves of the avocado right into the food processor. Now this is going to be a dressing, so we want to make sure that it's thin enough. I'm going to add just a touch of water to it, a little bit of salt to season it, and then turn on the food processor and let it go until it's smooth. Now the dressing I will mix into this shrimp mixture. This is a preparation that's typically called a la mexicana when it's got the cilantro, tomato, onion, green chili in it, and it's one of my favorite combinations in the whole wide world. I never get tired of it. Mix all of that together. Boy, doesn't that look mouth-watering? Fresh shrimp, fresh vegetables, avocado. So how are you coming, Lane, on yours?
I'm all shredded.
Okay. Well, then in that case, let's move on to the flavorings. Why don't you put it into the bowl there? And I'm going to ask you to put equal parts of cider vinegar and olive oil onto that.
What's equal parts?
Well, I think for that amount, probably about 3 tablespoons of each one. Okay. Well, I chop up a red onion and some chipotle chilies. Give it a little smoky tinge here. Okay, Lane, bring me the bowl. Add the chipotle chili. I'm not going to make this too spicy. We could add more if we want to. And a little bit of this red onion. I don't know, what do you think?
Maybe a tiny bit more.
About a tiny bit more? Okay.
I like onion.
Okay, then why don't we go back over here and sprinkle it with some salt. Like that. Grab a spoon over there and stir it up. And we'll give these things a taste and see where we are with them. Here, I gotta have a taste of yours. Here.
Ooh, like a big one.
I think it's perfect. Really, really good. Okay. So now all we've got to do is the pig's feet. I'm just going to drain it out, chop it up a little bit, mix some sour cream into it, a little bit of pickled jalapeno to give it some spice and delicious qualities, and we're ready to go.
Are we really doing pig's feet again?
We are. What do you think? Can we get by with it?
I don't know.
I think it's going to be great.
I do know one thing we're missing, though.
Now, what's that?
Mariachi music.
Oh, what are you going to play? Posados, the slightly aged in oak, oh, then it turns really smooth, and you'll start smelling the sweetness that you get from the barrel aging. Much richer flavor, and a lot of people love these. People that like good brandy usually like the ones from the valley because it has a little bit more of that. Now here's the last one. I'm going to pour you a little bit of this. It's about a 3-year-old añejo. And we're going back up to the Altos region for this one. So the Altos region, you're going to have that floweriness again, but then it's going to be mixed in with a lot of that aging from the wood barrels. And see, now it's not, you notice it's not as caramely, it's not as sweet smelling, and it's not as dark in color, even though this is aged longer. This is probably aged in neutral oak barrels, meaning that they've been used over and over and over again. So you'll get more of the tequila flavor in this, but I can tell just by smelling it that it's not going to be as sort of sweet and upfront as that last one was. And I have to say, you can't beat this bottle, can you? Isn't that just the most beautiful thing you've ever seen? So it's hand blown, and you